Absolutely incredible result that in Wellington. Historic for all the wrong reasons for the All Blacks. And we are very grateful on Rugby Heaven to be joined now by an All Blacks legend, Jeff Wilson. Geez, I teed you up perfectly there, Goldie. Tell us a little bit. A, are you okay, mate? And B, how is the mood in New Zealand in the days after what happened in Wellington?
Well, clearly I'm disappointed, and I'd like to say it was a pleasure to be on the show, but what we're talking about is the biggest ever defeat that the All Blacks have faced at home. That's not easy for anyone to deal with, particularly if you're a former All Black. But I'm fine now, the fact that we've had time to digest it and look at it, and you have to congratulate the Springboks on what was a remarkable performance. But ultimately, we all want answers now, and that's what the next couple of weeks are going to be about. You know, we go back to Eden Park. Yes, there's a lot to play for, but in terms of the atmosphere at the ground, the Springboks on the night, and their fans celebrated, and the All Blacks fans in some ways just, I suppose, appreciated what they'd just seen, because it's not often you see that when a world-class team comes in and puts the All Blacks to the sword.
Goldie, they are calling it the massacre at the Cape Town. I don't know if you've heard that, but that is true. And also there's a few memes where they're talking about just cutting off the bottom of the North Island and just getting rid of Wellington. I think no more test matches for the All Blacks there, regardless. Mate, just a couple of stats that I found so interesting, one in particular, but it was 6-1 tries. Run meters was 629 to South Africa and only 262 to the ABs. But the big one was 46 missed tackles from the All Blacks in the game. Was that noticeable from your vantage point on the sideline? And is there a reason why that was such a high number?
Well, I think ultimately the Springboks planned this game really, really well, and they stuck to their guns. And, you know, the All Blacks did a lot of play in the first half for very little reward. And by the time in the second half came about where, you know, all of a sudden the Springboks were on top of the All Blacks, dominating the line-out, dominating the scrum, you know, all of a sudden dominating the air, all of a sudden our fractured defence got under real pressure. And that's when you start missing tackles. But, you know, there's a real issue here for the All Blacks, is that we're coming up against teams who are very elusive, they're very fast, they're great on their feet, and they're giving us some real trouble. You know, the fact that we are struggling to match that. And when you get the likes of a Damien Willemse or a Cheslin Colby with ball in hand and attacking the line, and then they're doing it beyond the advantage line when you're winning kicks in the air, it makes it very, very difficult to defend. And we were chasing ghosts by the end of that game. So, yeah, it's really concerning. But I think this is not something that is a surprise to me, the fact that our game in New Zealand has become, I think, very much predictive, and we're lacking the same type of talent in terms of that evasive ability that other teams around the world are showing right now, or we're not giving guys the opportunity to show that. And we're wary now of where the Wallabies are at, because you have discovered and brought players into your game who are very, very dangerous. They are fast, they're elusive, have the ability to offload. And when you get down by 20 points, which you might do at Eden Park, that's when you're at your most dangerous, because all of a sudden that's when you play your best rugby.
We'd prefer not to be in that situation.
Well, yeah, we're worried if you actually work out how to play for the first 60, because if you do that, it's going to be really hard for us to win. Look, this is going to be huge for the All Blacks. We're expecting some sort of bounce back. But the question is why we're having to keep bouncing back. And we've got to look a little bit deeper in the fact that how we're playing and what we're doing and what opportunities we're giving for our most talented players.
You've just mentioned that they need to bounce back, but for the Wallabies, heading to Eden Park, there's that record that the All Blacks have held on to for so long. Do you honestly give the Wallabies a chance of ending that? Obviously, the backlash from the All Blacks is always harsh.
I've been really strong on this, is the fact that we've always been able to target areas of the Wallabies and put them under pressure in a certain way. We're not going to be able to do that, I don't think, in this test match. The fact that Joe Schmidt, Mike Cron and their coaching team have all of a sudden, they've shorn up some areas. In particular, the set piece looks really reliable, particularly the scrum is not just on par, it can become a weapon. So, you know, we can't go to that if you're talking the All Blacks now. So I definitely think the Wallabies are a shot in this test match in terms of coming here with showing they can play, showing they can stay in the fight. Their set pieces improved, an area that we've been able to go to against the Wallabies. There's no doubt it's going to be tough because of the Eden Park factor. But if they can get beyond that, and I have no doubt the motivation within the group in terms of this rugby championship and where they're going in the Bledisloe Cup will be high, I think they're a chance if they come here and they can prepare mentally, get past that hurdle of Eden Park, which is not easy. It hasn't been able to be done for 51 Test matches now. But if they stay in the fight, they can push this All Black team a long, long way into this Test.
Of course, just reiterating that record, it's not since 1986 that the Wallabies have beaten New Zealand at Eden Park. New Zealand, the All Blacks haven't lost a test there since 1994. Australia's currently on a 9-game losing streak between the Wallabies and All Blacks, just as it is in the last 4 years. You've heaped a lot of praise there on the Wallabies and what they've done over the last 18 months, Joe Schmidt, Mike Cron, etc., and referenced maybe there's shortages of talent for New Zealand. Are you expecting some changes, or what changes would you like to see leading into the Bledisloe by Scott Robertson and his team?
I think we've all seen over the last 18 months the biggest challenge has been the last 20 minutes of Test matches for this All Black squad and this coaching group. And we even saw it in Wellington. The first half didn't even resemble the second half. So something in terms of a shift or change or mindset has changed in the back half of games. And that's where the All Blacks, when I talk about talent, it's about trusting and sticking to a plan. And we've become very conservative, and there's no doubt in the first half in Wellington we started to move the ball and shift it, but we need guys to be given a bit more of a license to try and create and find space rather than, like I say, being very prescriptive. So for me, there are opportunities in every Test match. There are opportunities in every game. You've got to find that space, you've got to identify it together and take advantage of it. And at the moment we are, I think, tentative. We need to find our confidence, and we need to find, I suppose, an element of a less fear of making mistakes.
Great to have you on Rugby Heaven, and let me just tell you that from this side of the ditch, we are very realistic about the challenge ahead of trying to reclaim the Bledisloe. There's no getting ahead of ourselves here. Great to have former All Black and former Black Cap on Rugby Heaven as well. Thanks very much, Jeff.
That's a long time ago in a galaxy far away. You've reached back into the deep, dark ages there. Like, it's great to be on. Can't wait to see the Wallabies at Eden Park.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we're
Goldie.
looking forward to it. Thanks, Goldie. Yes, 6 one-day internationals for New Zealand. Jeff Wilson, 44 not out against Australia on debut. But
Learn something new every
it is fascinating from this side of the Tasman, just looking at how critical they're being of the All Blacks, but also how wary they are and respectful they are of the Wallabies at the moment.
Yeah, it's flattering, isn't it? It's going to be a huge test for the Wallabies going over to Eden Park, but it's still 70 metres wide, it's still 100 metres long. It's the same field these guys have been playing on their whole life. The more work that they can do in preparing for this Eden Park challenge in the lead-up, I think it's going to be fantastic. And the more the older guys can talk about their experiences, I think that's really going to help our Wallaby team as we prepare for the test as well.
Can't wait for the Bledisloe. That's to come over the next couple of weeks. Well, from the All Blacks to the Black Ferns, it is crunch time in the Women's Rugby World Cup this weekend, semi-final time.